to Go Play Esports Podcast with Christopher Turner, Go Play founder and CEO, esports coach at the Southern University Lab, and gamer. Discussions on the emergence of esports at the K-12, collegiate, and professional level. Let's go! Let's go play.
Welcome. This is your host, Christopher Turner. This is another episode of Go Play Esports. Man, I tell you, I know, and I've said this before, I've addressed the COVID situation. You know, stuff is starting to open back up. I'm excited about that. I'm ready to get back to some kind of place of normalcy. I know you guys are, but still, I said it 1,000 times within this podcast. Be safe, mask up, do your social distancing like they're saying, and just be careful, man. I know everybody is, ready to get back to, just normal routine, man. Being able to go to the grocery store, go out to parks or anything, but this thing is. It's real heavy, man. It's real crazy times. We hadn't saw anything like this in our lifetime. I just want to make sure everybody's safe. But I am blessed to be here, blessed to have another episode of Go Play Esports Podcast. And, I know everybody's schedule is getting back, like I said before, to some type of normalcy. So we're going to be dropping some podcasts. It's probably won't be as heavy as it was when COVID first happened, but trust me, I'm in constant talks with people in the industry, and we're going to keep this thing going, and you're going to keep on getting great content, and that's my promise to you. And like I said countless times before as well, I started this podcast to educate the public on what esports is and what the whole industry is about, and to introduce great people to the world. So we've been able to get that done, and we're right at 1,000 downloads. So thank you, man. I'm gonna do a round of applause for that, and hopefully it grows from here, man, and we constantly grow and build content. And so at some point, I want to get into video, and we're gonna do that. And it is what it is. So let's get to the art of business. You know what we do here. NFL owners to vote on a new exclusive contract with EA Sports through 2026. The owners will decide to do a future of NFL games in a virtual meeting next week. The NFL owners are set to vote on licensing exclusive deal with EA Sports next week. And some of y'all might have been paying attention to like gaming news and esports news. As far as like right now, we knew 2K had inked a deal, and we didn't know the details of the deal. Evidently, it has nothing to do with the simulated play of the Madden franchise and EA. So I'm excited to see what 2K is going to do as far as with the NFL brand and what that's going to look like. I don't know. But at the same token, the owners are going to be in talks, trying to ink that deal for exclusive rights for simulated play of the NFL. So we're going to see what happens with that, but let's drop a bomb for the owners of the NFL, and let's drop a bomb for Madden, maybe inking another exclusive simulated contract of NFL play through the Madden franchise. Moving on with the art of business, every episode we have a special guest. This is no different. He's the CEO of Project MQ, marketing agency, family-friendly esports. He helps colleges and other brands engage in younger audiences. President of Tampa Association of Gaming, a nonprofit dedicated to growing gaming industry in STEM with young programs in the Tampa Bay region. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome Marcus Howard to the show. Welcome to the show, Marcus.
Good afternoon, man. Thanks for the invitation.
No problem, man. So we're just gonna dive right in, Marcus. Let's kind of get into your background. Take a few minutes and tell us, how you got into this space.
Sure. So it goes way back to right around 1992. My brother and I got Super Mario Brothers 3 for Christmas when we were 6, and it inspired our love for video games and technology. Fast forward 10 years or so, 15 years or so to middle school. And in 9th grade, we started building our first video game in the 9th grade on the TI-83 Plus graphic calculator. And fast forward another 10 years, we started to build our own company to solve game discovery, which is a global problem for the entire gaming industry. And then about 7 years after that, we're doing a lot of time jumping. We pivoted from a multimedia search engine exclusively for indie games worldwide to an experiential marketing agency that leverages those same indie games to help businesses and colleges and other brands use family-friendly games to engage in esports and gaming.
That's amazing, man. It's a fast track, man. I really want to know, like, from the standpoint of, I don't know if we have similar backgrounds, but I know both of us are African American, and growing up where I grew up, what was the mindset? Because for my area, it was like, football, basketball, doctor, lawyer, a bus. Like, who introduced technology to the point where you and your brother were making games at such an early age?
I got to give full credit, first to God for watching over us, because the journey hasn't been easy. The last 7 years, I guess really, 10 years. We actually started our business back in 2011 before the multimedia search engine in 2013. But next is to my parents, because they understood the value of education and the importance, especially as, Black males in this society, to create opportunities for career and personal and business and, life development. Not to say that you have to have a college degree to be successful, but education as a whole opens the door to create opportunities. So they always introduced tech to us. And actually in 9th grade, we're the ones trying to get us to build our first website. We were blessed to get selected for a magnet school for science and technology, and they had us for homework assignments building websites. Our parents made sure we did that, but my brother and I didn't really have any interest in writing code to build websites. It was only when we recognized on the TI-83 Plus graphing calculator that video games are written with the same code that makes websites that we got interested in programming.
So it was that direct connect to gaming.
Yeah, first our parents, and then, but the long span of it is gaming, because our parents still don't really understand the space or what gaming is, but gaming got us into that.
No, I definitely understand that. And moving on, like, to the next phase of things, like, what was the conversation with you guys when it comes to, like, Project MQ? Like, because I feel like it's a genius thing, like having that one place to drop in for indie games and being able to research and actually pick and figure out what games you want to play.
Great question. We really tried to scratch our own itch. They say some of the best companies built are when you're trying to solve a problem that you experience, and if you can build a solution at scale, you've got a solid company. We actually, after we graduated, my brother graduated 2011, I graduated 2008, we wanted to try to make a game again, so we were building a puzzle game that had some RPG elements to it. And when we were researching the industry, doing our market research to figure out, how many people can we get to play this game that we're building, we discovered that game discovery has been broken, and we knew that we had no chance, basically, as small businesses, to build the audience we need to have a sustainable indie studio. So we pivoted into solving game discovery so that we could hopefully one day come back and launch our game.
Wow, that's crazy. So it's almost a setup of your own platforms and own games that you're building. You weren't thinking, like having 100 to 1,000 to 100,000 plus games on your database at that point.
No, first it was purely let's launch our game, and then we thought, like, what do we need to build an audience for our game? And we knew that tool didn't exist, so we just built that tool instead of building our game.
And did you guys or did you feel that you were like early? Because sometimes I'm a creative too, and I feel like tech, coding and all that is under being a creative. Do you feel like you're ahead of the game at some point, or do you think you're right on time with what y'all were building?
I think we were right on time for the need for game discovery, but I think we were early in the demand for indie games. Most people don't know that Minecraft started indie. They also don't know that Rocket League, PUBG, Clash of Clans, League of Legends are all technically created by independent game developers. And those are some of the most popular games out in the space, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
What we're having to do is make that connection for gamers. You'll hear people who are playing those games also trash indie games because they don't recognize the difference or even the similarities.
And so let's have that conversation, Marcus. Because I hear we've talked briefly. So my passion job, I'm an esports and I'm a teacher at a high school in my area, and it's hard to get our kids to play indie games. What are some of the conversations? Because I know you're a public speaker as well, and you're doing stuff with youth in your community as well. What are those conversations? Is it just like an introductory to some indie games you kind of push out in front of them, or is it some type of conversation to kind of lead them up to looking into that space?
It's a little bit of both, actually. So one of the things we also make sure to mention is that independent game developers are small business owners. And I think that's missed here in that conversation, is that as you're making your game, you're building your own company. And really, that's one of the reasons that many indies struggle, is because they focus so much on building the game and not recognizing that they need to build the entire company. So like the business component of the game, not just building the game. But to answer your question more directly, what we do is we introduce the concept of being small business owners, and then we show them amazing games. And they don't even know that they're indie. We just let them play the games, and the quality and the amazing novelty of the games speak for themselves. And then we explain those are indie games and show them that anybody can make a game.
That's amazing. So, and I keep on hearing the same thing while you're speaking. It's not only being in the space, being tech, being STEM related, but it's also being an entrepreneur. And hats off to that. That's me all day. Within what you're doing, how do you introduce that entrepreneur spirit? I know it's something to show somebody something. It's something for them to see, touch, and feel. But how do you incorporate that they're actually getting it from that standpoint?
We start with having the students pick a concept that is relevant or interesting to them, because I think that's one of the major problems or opportunities rather, in the K through 12 and even the higher ed education system, is that educational tracks don't necessarily align with students' personal interests, especially in the K through 12, because you have no really flexibility of choosing your education path. You can in higher ed to some degree. So we can make sure they find something interesting to them first, and then we explain the very basic concepts of businesses, where it's you identify a problem, and then you build a solution for that problem, and then you have to have all of the necessary components of a business, and we facilitate that through an executive summary so that students can think about their business at a very high level, and then we help drive that point home by using our own company as an example, why we were building our own game, how we discovered there was a problem with game discovery, how we decided to build a business around that. And more importantly, we highlight areas where we failed in that process, so that not only are we showing them that's how you get better is through failure, but to help them anticipate and be ready for failure. So many, I think, people are afraid to fail. You have to fail in order to get better. You either win or you learn, and you learn through failure.
That's a great quote, man.